Okay, so let's look at our laboratory for this week. So let me find it. Okay, so, oh, here we go. Okay, so this is a very typical experiment that we would do in this course. So this one is giving you the instructions, and it's like the practice one and how to learn the techniques. So what you're going to want to do is put the raw data, it can be messy, in your virtual lab notebook, and then come back, and then you can fill this in. And more instructions, and then fill that in. And you get to do that one also. Okay, so this one's the practice one. You're also going to do this one. And this one, you're going to have unknowns. You only need to do one unknown to turn in. However, I'm going to make a caveat. Okay, so this says you can do a minimum of 0 and maximum of 8. I'm going to change that you need to have a minimum of, okay, if I could spell it, minimum of 3. I'm not going to let you do 0. I don't think anyone's going to want to do 8. That would be crazy. But you have to have a minimum of 3, and you're going to have to turn in okay, turn in the answer to one unknown. Like, you get to practice as much as you want. But one of them is going to have to be your conclusion. You're going to have to turn in one of your unknowns. Like, you could practice a boatload, but then in your conclusion, you will have to say unknown number, blah, blah, has, and then with it, a minimum of 3 for your unknown. Okay, so that, wait, what just happened? Okay, so now, okay, so this happens to be the high school level. I don't know why it was in the high school level. Go to chemistry, go to high school, chemical reactions. And then here you can see it says identification of cations in solution. That's the first one. And that's, okay, so let me go ahead and annotate so you can tell. Okay, identification of cations in solution. Okay, you're going to want to do that one first. And you will be turning in your virtual lab notebook. And you can do the sheet as a PDF. And then the other one you're going to do is this one. And you're going to want to do that second. Qualitative analysis of cations, do that second. And you can do this in different times. And then you're going to want to turn in your virtual lab notebook and worksheet as PDF. Okay, so that's where you're going to get the worksheets. And then go back to chemistry. Oh, labs. Oh, how did I go back? Oh, I guess I have to stop annotating. Okay, so the labs. Okay, so the labs. So high school level, open the labs, and then okay, then we go to chemical reactions. And the first one's qualitative analysis of cations. And this is the one where you're going to practice the techniques. So the laboratory opened up like this. Here's your lab notebook. Make sure you put your name and your date. Because we would do that in a regular face-to-face. We should be doing that now. Okay, so then start blah, 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 blah. Double click on the test tube. And that gives you a test tube. Okay, double click on the test tube in the box to place it on the metal tube stand. And then you can click on the shelf to add whatever to the test tube. So they told me they want me to do sodium first. Okay, so my sodium is, where is that? Right there. Okay, so now I have sodium in here. And then I can go ahead and take the, okay, I can take this and I can put it in my rack. And if I double click again, then I will get potassium in there. And then I can just take my potassium and put it in the rack. And then they want me to do a mixture. So I can click and get some sodium in the mixture. And I'll also have potassium in the mixture. And then I can put it in the rack. So if I go like this, it tells me what I've got. I've got sodium. I go like this, it tells me I've got potassium. I go like this, it tells me I've got both of them. So I hover over them. So I'm going to be using a flame test. So you put your test tube in here, and then if you click on here, then that gives you the flame test. So that's what it's telling you, and that's how you do the flame test. And so those are your observations, the color you see. And then if it wants you to use the cobalt, like you click on that and there's your cobalt. Okay, so the first one is doing the flame test, and that's about it. And then we can just, when you're done, you can just dump everything. And that clears the lab. Okay, there's a section 2, and we're going to select a new test tube. And then they're asking us to put a silver ion. And then mercury 1 and lead. So that's all going in the test tube. You just have to follow the directions step by step. And then they tell us to add, click on the reagent bottle. The reagent bottles are down here. So if they tell me to click on the reagent bottle, so sodium chloride, I just go to it and click. And it tells me what I've got in there. When it's asking to turn on a heater, I go to this. You click on the hot plate and that's the heater. And then you click on it again and it turns it off. So that's kind of the idea. Okay, if it asks you to click on the centrifuge, you would leave whatever test tube is in here. Here's the centrifuge. So you click on that. And that tells, and that like a regular, so you can see this is what a centrifuge looks like. It's a, anyway, so that's when you click on the centrifuge. So those are pretty much how to use it. You click on here for the centrifuge, And then if you want to decant, you click over here and that would decant. And then notice that whatever you decanted went over into here. So now I decanted and all I had was my sodium ions. So that's pretty much how you follow the directions for that as far as using the different components. And then when you want to clear the lab, you just go ahead and get rid of your little test tube. And then I can get rid of this test tube here eventually. And that clears the lab. Then there's a section 3. And it asks you for a new test tube. Whenever you want a test tube, you click on the little box here. And now it's asking for cobalt. And it's asking for chromium 3. And it's asking for copper 2. Okay, this is the test tube stand when you have it in here. And this is the test tube rack. So if I have it in the test tube stand and it asks me to click on a bottle, they mean the reagent bottle. So for example, if I clicked on this, that would be my reagent bottle. And then if they're asking me to do a certain pH, I would look over here and find different pHs. And so if they ask me for a pH 10, I could go like that. And now I have a pH 10. They ask me to centrifuge. I click on my centrifuge. They ask me to decant. I click on this one. Okay, so those are, and then we end up getting the one there. Okay, so then I can just go ahead and get rid of those. If I click on this, oopsie, sorry. If I click on this, I can make an unknown of the alkali metals. And then you see over here, here's my unknown. And then you click like there, it tells you the unknown number. If I go back to my little preset list, I can choose different unknowns based on what they're asking me. So see, you go over to it and it will tell you, well, those are your possible unknowns. So that's how you can make unknowns. Okay, so those are the procedures, how to use the centrifuge, the decant, the hot plate. I think that's all of the techniques. We don't get to use the smell one. It would be fun, but we don't get to do that. Nothing's gonna smell. Okay, so that's how you do this. And then you just put your raw data in here, and you do have to put this in your lab archives. So let's see if I can find the lab archives. Where's my lab archives? Here we go. So these two Beyondlabz are your experiment for this week, because this class, like I said, this class typically does a cation. Oh, here we go. Qualitative analysis of cations. And so you want to do this one first because it helps you to practice. And do this one second. And I gave you a little bit more direction, so it's real clear, I hope. And please try to do the PDFs. Please export as a PDF. Some people have been doing these weird files that like takes me forever to try to open them up. Okay, so remember I told you you had to do one unknown for the second one. That's the qualitative analysis of cations. That one unknown has to have at least 3 cations, and you have to give me an unknown number, and then your whole grade this week is based on this.
Professor,
Mhm.
so for the Beyondlabz, like everything we do in the lab notebook in the Beyondlabz, and then we upload to the lab archive, right?
Oh, okay. So yeah, your lab notebook can be messy because that's your raw data. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go back and then also fill this in. So you will have your virtual lab notebook for this part with your raw data. And then go ahead and nicely make a table here for your report. And then nicely make a table here. So this is the part that would be like your report. The virtual lab notebook is just your messy observations.
Oh, okay.
But this, yeah, this is the report part, is to go ahead and fill this in.
And we submit a PDF
yes,
of this?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, you submit a PDF of this. That's your lab report. And then for this one, you would also have your messy raw data in your virtual lab notebook. That's what you would do. If you were face to face, you write down what you see, and it can be messy. And then for your report that you're going to submit, you will fill this in. And this one is just answering this question. There's one question here. And so in here, you're going to have so you're going to have your lab notebook for this first one, which is like number 45, and fill in that nice sheet. That's your lab report. And then you will have your virtual lab notebook of just your observations here, and then fill in that sheet. There's only one question. And then this one, this conclusion is based on the second one, which is what, 46? 46. And this is based on, it's number 46, which was the qualitative analysis of cations. So it's not a formal lab report, but you still have plenty to do. So you essentially have and you can do this on different days. You essentially have your virtual lab notebook is your raw data for the number 45. And there's a lot in there. And then your virtual lab notebook should have the raw data for the number 46, which is the second one. And then you go back after you've done it and nicely, neatly fill in. You can do it by hand or typing the worksheet and then upload that as a PDF. And that will be plenty of work. That'll take you a while because you have to practice first. I had to do it a bit before I got the hang of it.